Hey everybody, welcome to Local Business Hacks Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Case, and I'm on a mission to help you. Every week, we're going to be talking to local business owners and experts to get their best tips, tricks, and hacks to grow your business. This show is designed to teach you, inspire you, and motivate you to take massive action and start to build your future-proof business. Whether you're just starting off or you're taking your existing business to the next level, this episode is for you. So let's get started. Hey, local business hackers. It's your host, Carl Case, joined today by Lilly Scott, CEO and founder of Electric Collective, calling in from Washington, D.C. Hey, Lilly, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. And hello, listeners. Great to be with you today, wherever you are.
Thanks, Lilly. So obviously you don't become a CEO and founder of a new fitness brand overnight. So talk to us about the journey.
Okay. Yeah, it's true, right? Like this doesn't just come to you in the mail. My fitness journey could start as far back as when I was 10, and I thought I needed to change the way I looked. I went on my first diet when I was 10 years old. I had such dysmorphic body image issues. And with that, my parents used to pay me to exercise. They would pay me money to swim laps in the pool and play outside, anything to get me moving. And so really right from the get-go, I learned something that a lot of adults approach fitness, which is that idea that you have to exercise to change the way you look. Like exercise is a means to an end. But it was introduced to me that way. But I realized in my childhood and as I grew up that fitness was so much more to me than just trying to look skinny or better or like fit in. It just made me so happy. So fast forward to adulthood, I went straight to law school after undergrad. And while I'm in law school, I'm really depressed, feeling low, questioning how smart I am, questioning what I'm capable of. And so I did what I always did, and I fell back on fitness. I trained to be a fitness instructor while in law school, just because I knew I was good at this. And it gave me so much confidence and purpose and joy. So after I graduated law school, I worked at law firms here in DC, and I also taught at Core Power Yoga and Equinox. It was only until COVID that I was able to really brand myself as my own entity apart from these great big corporate businesses for fitness. I had always had these dreams sitting at my desk at the firm that I wish I could be an influencer. I wish I could just tell people how amazing they are. I wish I could convince people that they are amazing. And I wish I could do that through fitness. So I had this daydream, but COVID made it an actuality. I started teaching for free online, like so many people did. But my classes all of a sudden got so popular. We're talking 400 plus people on a Zoom call, crashing the internet big. And I wasn't a celebrity or anything near that. The fact that all these people are showing up, I'm like, how do you even know who I am? How do you even know that I wake up in the morning? And it was pretty awesome. It was only after months of doing this for free, teaching 5 classes a week while working full-time at my firm, that I thought, hey, what if I monetized? So I got the guts eventually to do that while also working. In the first month, I made more teaching virtual fitness classes than I did at my law firm. And I looked at my husband, I'm like, dude, I can absolutely burn both ends of this candle for as long as possible, but I'm going to crash and I'm not going to be great at either thing. There's a chance that I could be really great. And I have such a great message and I love what I'm doing so much. Like, do you think I should just go for it? And I'm so blessed. He was all about it. He's like, Queen, go off. So I went off and I built my business. I have a fitness app. I was teaching virtual classes, like 12 classes a week on camera, doing podcasts like this, meeting amazing people, spreading the word that you are allowed to love yourself. That movement isn't about fixing yourself. It's about celebrating the body you already have. And then I got here, and I'm 5 months postpartum, had a baby, and I had complications during pregnancy. So I couldn't exercise. I had to hang up my business for a little while. I'm finally getting back into it, able to move around again. But really the business, the story, Electric Collective doesn't start from, one day or one moment. It was an accumulation of moments, and the journey started at 10 years old when I rejected my body, and it's here now where I celebrate mine and yours.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations to you, to your new addition to the family, and
Thanks.
shout out to your husband for doing what every partner who is married or dating an entrepreneur should do, which is support their goals. Because
it's a scary thing though, financially. We're in a good place, but if not, I mean, that was a very secure income. And so definitely good on him. And I'm so lucky that he just like celebrates my dreams the way he does. So I agree.
that's amazing. Well, Lilly, I can imagine being at Equinox and teaching Pilates and being all over the place. You have experienced some interesting yet different stories that I'm sure people would love to hear. Keep in mind, we're after the result and the lesson that it taught you. Super interested in the story. So if you don't mind opening up and sharing a couple, the floor is yours.
Sharing about like funny things that happen at Equinox and Core Power?
Sure. Or just things that taught you lessons along the way that have helped you to create your own brand.
Got you. Yeah, I think that I definitely learned a lot from teaching at two very successful fitness studios. Equinox does some things that are really awesome, and so does Core Power. I think I was a teacher trainer in Core Power as well, so I was very, very ingrained in their culture. And I think what Core Power does really well that I brought with me in creating my business was making it feel like community and making every single student, every single one who walks in the door feel like they're important, because we do not show up to group fitness classes, whether it's in person or virtually, just because. We show up because we feel connected, whether that's part of a community, whether that's with your instructor, whether that's with yourself. Without connection, you do not have a business. Without treating people like people, your business fails. So I think Core Power does a really good job of putting the students first. That meant like in practice, that meant instructors were checking the students in. It wasn't someone working at the desk. That's how I learned all my students' names. That's the only way I was able to start my business, because those students felt connected to me, followed me on social media, and then took my classes during the pandemic. So I think treating people like people and community was Core Power's greatest success, and something everyone should take with them in whatever pursuit they're doing in their own business. With Equinox, they treated instructors really well. I really loved how they paid for us to learn more. They always were encouraging us to learn new formats, to study different parts of the body, and to stay educated, which is so important, especially when you become a business owner, if you're doing something in fitness, because it's really easy to get so bogged down in the administrative details, the tasks, the tech, everything that goes into your business, so much so that you might lose a little bit of intelligence and connection with your craft. Like the reason why you started, if you're in a fitness business, is because you love the movements and you have to stay polished. You have to know what the trends are. You have to know what people want to do. And if you're not continuing to educate yourself on the human body, then you're not only like letting your craft go to waste, but you might not be showing up the best you can for your students. So I think Equinox taught me that.
Awesome. Well, Lilly, if you don't mind answering, how do you put that into practice in your career today? Because from the Equinox perspective of continuous education, they provided that for you. So how do you seek that education in your world today?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, it's just reading. Like you don't need to go to a college. You don't need to have a professor. The World Wide Web is full of information, trusting some sources and just reading. I always just like to Google. I mean, this is how you know you're supposed to be in fitness. I love just looking up different moves. I'm like, difficult cardio moves to do with a dumbbell, and I'll just read about them, and I'll read like what that engages, great cues, just like staying up to date with the information. I like to follow different people on social media to see what trends are working for them. Like I'm a huge proponent of picking like 5 people on social media, someone who's so far into the dream, like what you wish your business could be, and just breaking them down and just like figuring out how they did it and watching to see what they're doing now. into like, I'll have tiers of people who I'm like, I wish I could be her, to people who are like, she is 3 steps ahead of me. What is she doing now? Like the market's changing. I always look at Sid Miller, who is a fitness instructor from New York City and Miami. I'm like, okay, what did Sid do? Like, how much is she charging? Okay, then what is Whitney Simmons charging? What is she doing? Like, what's Melissa Wood Health doing? So I think staying on it that way, like the internet's the best resource and it's freaking free. So go off on the internet.
That's amazing. And as far as what you learned at the Pilates studio of being inclusive with community, having 400 people on a Zoom call, that's incredibly difficult. I personally have experience from attending a Tony Robbins event where there was 20,000 people on a Zoom. And it was like, oh my gosh, luckily I had some crazy friends. Shout out to my friends that were there with me. And we went ham and got on the big screen. And that was definitely a motivation to continue and keep our cameras on and whatnot. But it's difficult when you're putting your camera on in a group fitness class with people that you might not know and things, it could be uncomfortable. So how do you bring that practice into your career today?
Absolutely. I mean, when it comes to a big class, like when there's 400 people in the class, obviously you can't make the experience more personal. Like you can't, but there are things you can do. I think your messaging is huge. People don't like to turn their cameras on in a Zoom call, especially with fitness, oftentimes because they don't want to be judged or because they're not going to be good at it. And a lot of people show up for virtual fitness now because they don't feel comfortable in person. They don't want to show their bodies off. They don't want to be sweaty in front of anyone. So just to create a space where, hey, if you want to turn your video on, go for it. If you want to have that encouragement, go for it. Just like letting people feel comfortable, knowing that no one's really watching you for more than motivation. And if you need to take 15 breaks during this workout, just know that there are other people who probably need to take those breaks too. And you are making the workout even better for them. So they know they're not alone. So just like addressing everyone. I think creating community virtually is really difficult. And it's really hard to keep people interested, engaged virtually as well, because they have so many distractions.
Sure.
I think that the big thing to do is to use people's names. If you are an instructor and you're not saying real people's names, then you're missing out. I like to stay super in touch with my members. I DM them. I share a lot on social media. And I think, knowing what's going on in their lives makes it so I can say, like, Abby's here. Her daughter didn't sleep last night and she is rocking it. Like, go off, queen. Like sharing little anecdotes about people. Even today, I taught at Equinox this morning and it was one of the students' birthday. So we could celebrate. Like anything you can do to help people realize that the other people in their class are human beings with stories. And not only that, but they're most likely to be your friend. They like to do the same things you like to do. So just creating that feeling of comfort, always speaking in a class like you're speaking to someone's soul and heart. Because anytime you're working out, you are getting to a really vulnerable place. Everyone feels like they're going to give up at some point in a hard workout. And it's our jobs to say, you are strong. And to be able to get someone to a vulnerable, broken place and say, I'm going to rewrite the way you respond to this moment. It makes them feel personally like they are connected with you, even if it's a room of 40 people on a Zoom or 400.
I love that. That's awesome. Those are great tips. I mean, I guess I would ask, is there a situation that you can recant that maybe there was someone that was continually following you that didn't get that push, and what ultimately pushed them to be a real believer in themselves or into you and your brand, or something that you did on Zoom? Anything you think of?
Yeah, I think that it's about, like I said, using people's names. There are always going to be people who pop in and pop out, but I think celebrating people's victories, like I think of one student named Kara who took my classes in person pre-pandemic at Equinox. And the first class she took with me, she was in the back row. It's a class called Best Butt Ever. She had one of those steppers and she fell off of her stepper. And she's a little bit insecure. She's not like she's not like me. She's just a lot more shy. She fell and it was like, you could tell that it was the most embarrassing thing that could happen to the worst person it could happen to. And in that moment, I just was like, she got up and I was just like, y'all, this girl just fell and got back up. Like, she did not give up. Like, we're cheering her on. And from that moment, she was a believer, right? Like, she didn't even like working out that much, but she came to every single one of my classes. And then when I went virtual, she came to every single one of those. And when I did a video shoot, she had to be part of it, even though she's shy and hates having her photo taken. And so it's that, and it's celebrating their victories. It's, someone showing up 3 times in a row and being like, damn, Taylor showed up 3 times in a row. Get it, girl. Or, hey, for anyone who, just cried yesterday, so did I. Drop me a DM. Let's talk about it. I need some community too. And then talking to them personally, be like, I'm going to use what we just talked about for my playlist tomorrow. Like, doing things like that to make individuals feel special, heard, important. You obviously can't do it with everyone, but if you're someone who's struggling because you want your numbers to come up, and you're focusing on all the people who aren't coming to your classes, it's a really great opportunity to take a big breath and be like, look, there are 10 people who come to my class. How do I make those 10 people feel like freaking superheroes? Because if they have superhero, like, star power energy when they leave your class, they're going to tell their friends. Let them do the marketing and just let those people who really love you spread the word. Because I think a lot of the time as business entrepreneurs, we're thinking about, how do I get more members? How do I grow? How do I get bigger? And I fell into that trap so much. But when we really celebrate the people who are there, more come.
No, I love that. Lilly, that's some amazing advice. That's what we're looking for today. I love that. But another thing that you said, just to emphasize, not only is it about making the people feel that the other people in their class are human, but also you, the leader of the class. And like when you gave that example of, for anybody that cried yesterday, I did too, like making sure that they have that emotional connection with you, their trainer, because that'll motivate them so much more. I remember my first couple Orange Theory classes, I was like not noticed at all. And then my coach realized that I was running the fastest on the treadmill, and she called me out, and I just felt like all the energy from the room just absorb into myself, and I went even faster, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that's the thing. When you're younger and you're working out or playing sports, you have your parents, hopefully, or some loved one on the sideline cheering you on. And then we become grown-ups and we do these things for fun. And all it takes is one person cheering you on. That could be the only person who's cheered you on in a month. I know when I was in like the law firm, no one was cheering me on. I felt so broken and twisted and dragged around the world. And just to have someone say, Lilly, awesome job doing squats, I was just like, hell yeah. Like, my boss might fire me tomorrow, but I'm good at squats. Like, it means so much to an adult to be told that they're doing a good job. I totally relate to that. And what you brought up is a really interesting thing, that idea of sharing anecdotes, because it's something I do often in my classes, but there's a really fine line, because you don't want to make class about you. You're not a celebrity. This isn't like, you aren't Cher, all right? Like, you aren't Britney Spears. Like, you are an instructor, and your number one job is to help someone else see their greatness and their power. But humans can't connect with someone who are just like standing on a podium. Like, the only way that your students will feel connected is if they know a little bit about you. Tiny little anecdotes, sprinkle them in. Those make a huge difference for connection. You never know, like, hey, I'm going to Hawaii next month. You never know who also went to Hawaii and it was their honeymoon. And then you can talk about that. Like, you have no idea. So I think it's really important to let people know who you are, and never, ever, ever think that you need to show up perfect, because nobody is. The less perfect you show up and the more authentic you show up. I know that word's overused, especially in social media, but the more authentically you can show up and just let people know how you really are, the more connected they'll feel with you. And
the better results you'll get.
100%, because they show up more. Like, you show up for your friend more than you show up for your strangers, right? Like, you just will.
Yeah, I agree. Lilly, before we wrap up, how can people get involved with you and the Electric Collective?
Okay, so I'm very active on social media, and I would love to hear from anyone who connected with this podcast. If you have questions, if you're feeling frustrated, I'm a huge proponent of voice notes on DMs. So if you just need someone to pep talk you for 30 seconds, reach out, come follow me. I share so much about body image, loving yourself, finding like okayness with yourself. And you can see my baby, she's adorbs, but like everyone's baby's adorable, but like kind of feels like mine's the cutest these days. So my social media handle is Lilly Scott, LILLYSCOTT on Instagram. And I randomly have a lot of followers on TikTok. It's more about like momhood and babies. So it's not really business related, but you're welcome to follow it. It's the Lilly Scott. I don't check my Facebook. I barely check LinkedIn. I almost missed the opportunity to be on this on this podcast because I wasn't checking like LinkedIn. So definitely Instagram is the easiest way to get a hold of me. And I would love to cheer you on, listener, and meet you. So if anything spoke to you, reach out. That's what
Thanks, Lilly. From us and our listeners, we appreciate you.
I'm sending everyone a hug.
Thanks, Lilly.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. That's it for this week's episode. I hope you found it helpful. Be sure to head over to our site, local-business-hacks.com, to check out the show notes and send me questions or ideas for future episodes. If you want to grow your business, just like the people you've heard from here, follow Local Business Hacks Podcast and tune in for new tips, tricks, and tactics. Until next time, thanks for listening and keep hacking.